Well, hi, this is Dr. Steve Patty. Welcome to another in our series on personal leadership. How do you pursue the kind of life that you want to have? And in our last session together, we talked about the unlikely key to personal growth and development. We talked about resistance, which is unlikely because so many times when we think about growing and developing, we think about all the things that we think we need, like comfort and encouragement, people cheering us on, an environment that has no difficulty. But actually, as we explored last time, we need resistance. We need challenge. We need to stretch ourselves. We need to push ourselves into what is called the zone of productive disequilibration. The zone, above which we traumatize ourselves. We don't want that. But below which we sink into complacency and just do what we've always done. So your task from last time was to design a step that pushed you, that stretched you, that required some type of courage or presence or patience that was challenging for you. And that is one essential key to growing and developing, is to continually take steps toward challenge. Now, today we're going to talk about the other kinds of things you need as well. And some of what you need is a holding environment. And the reason why you need a holding environment is because when you step into challenge always produces discomfort. And discomfort typically makes us want to run, makes us want to withdraw, makes us want to disconnect, makes us want to stop working on it, because none of us enjoys discomfort. And stepping into challenge usually produces discomfort. So how do we keep ourselves stepping into challenge while we're uncomfortable? It's a holding environment, a holding environment. Ron Heifetz, leadership theorist out of Harvard University's Kennedy School of Government, uses the analogy of the pressure cooker, and I think it's an apt analogy. I don't think I've ever used a pressure cooker, but I've seen a pressure cooker being used before. You turn up the heat, you put your food in the cooker, and then you lock it down. Why do you lock it down? Because the heat agitates the molecules that want to escape, and if all the pressure escapes, the food is not cooked. So think about that as an analogy for you. You and I, in order to grow and develop, need heat in our lives. So discomfort, stress, challenge, disequilibration. But that generates heat. We want to get away from heat. So we need something to kind of hold us there long enough for change to happen. So how do you design a holding environment for yourself? I think you need three kinds of holding environments: a relational holding environment, a structured holding environment, and a vision holding environment. So a relational holding environment means that you need people. You need people to support you, to encourage you, to walk alongside of you, to know what your growing edge is, to be able to debrief with you. You need people who know you and know what you're working on. When we do this kind of work with leadership teams, we usually divide people into what we call triads, so groups of three, or three groups of three, which are crews. Whatever you want to call it, it's a way to connect people with people and help people support one another, because all of us need people who are close to us, who know what we're working on, who can process it, encourage us, call us out, challenge us along the way. We need a relational holding environment, firstly. Secondly, you need a structure holding environment. You need a structure, you need a plan, and you need something to hold yourself to the plan. If you're going to try to get really fit, you would need a plan, wouldn't you? You couldn't just say, I'd like to get fit someday. You need to say, okay, here's my plan. I'm going to structure my week so that 3 days a week, I get to the exercise facility and exercise 20 minutes vigorously. You need a plan to structure your week. If you want to write a book, you don't just sit back and go, someday I want to write a book. No, you actually have to structure your days such that you have some time during the week to sit down and you make yourself right. So if you have a growing edge, you need to structure somehow. You need a plan to hold you to it so that you say, every week, I'm going to take a challenging step. Or in these situations, every time the situation comes up, I'm going to take this step, try this out. Or with these people, I'm going to structure myself so that these people are where I work on this, and I'll work on this consistently. So some type of plan to structure your environment, your context, to keep you at it. That's the second kind of holding environment. The first is relationships, the second is a structure, and the third is vision. So you may have heard the saying, without knowing why, the cost is always too high. And that's so true with our own growing edges. Until we know what all this is in service to, until we have a vision of what our lives could be like and what that would mean for us, it's really hard to dedicate ourselves to growing and to going through the tough steps it takes to develop ourselves. So a vision. That's one of the compelling things about a growing edge, because a good growing edge means that even if you make a little bit of progress in that area, it makes a big difference in all kinds of areas of your life. So it might be interesting sometimes to sit down and just write a paragraph or two of what the future could be like. Take a field trip into the future and think about, if I could grow in this growing edge, what would be the implications for my life? How would that change things? I bet that vision would call you forward. So we need a holding environment of a vision to keep us moving forward, to inspire us. We need a holding environment of structure to keep us active and doing what we're supposed to be doing. We need a holding environment of relationships in order to be able to have the comfort and encouragement and feedback of someone who appreciates us, who believes in our own growth and development. So here is your task for this session. Think about who you might identify as a person who could be your holding environment, relationship person. Think about what kind of structure you need and sit down and write a paragraph or two, maybe a half a page about a vision for yourself. Let me give you one illustration. There is a woman who is working on her ability to be patient, and this was her growing edge. And so she identified somebody in her life, actually a couple someones in her life. She filled them in. She said, I want to meet with you on a regular basis so I can process this with you. That's a holding environment relationship. She sat down and she thought, now who is it that I really need to be patient with? She identified a couple people at her work, and she was going to focus on being patient in every interaction with those two people. Some structure. And then she sat down and she thought through, what would it be like if I were to grow in this area? What's my future like? She took a field trip to the future, wrote some things out, and was inspired by that to keep moving. So this is your task. Hope you enjoy taking this next step. Design your three elements of your holding environment. And until next time, lead yourself well and lead others well.